Hi, so at Zimmer Peacock we have a very cool technology for measuring the Scoville Heat Units, or the essentially the hotness of chili products and chili sauces. And we have plenty of sort of YouTube videos with us doing this. If you're interested in the background to the technology, it was originally licensed from the University of Oxford. Now, I'm not going to dig into that now, but there is buttons on our website about that. Now, the reason we've done this video is really because there's a very good scientific paper out there which is about the perception and the effective response that a person can have to a chili product. So the kind of absolute way of determining how hot a product is to measure the concentration of capsaicin or capsicum, depending on your pronunciation. Now, we do that using a chili sensing technology, where we essentially measure the amount of molecules of capsaicin in the sample, and we display it as a calculated Scoville Heat Unit, SHU. Now, in the paper, they talk about a person's perceived hotness of a product, and they talk about the capsaicin in ppm, parts per million. But essentially, what we've done is we've analysed the paper, and you can read the original paper if you so wish. But what we've essentially done is kind of understood what these guys have done and kind of show that as a person, your sensitivity to hotness is not linear with this capsaicin. It actually plateaus. Now, they come to this plateauing conclusion because they've done a trial with people and they tested people. But it also makes sense because the perception of hotness is because these molecules bind with receptors. I think we call them your sort of taste buds, but there's really receptors that these molecules bind to. And it's not linear. You don't have an infinite number of receptors with which to taste hotness. And so it's not surprising to us that the study, and it is an independent study, has kind of come away with a conclusion that your perception of hotness is not just linear with capsaicin. It actually plateaus. And this plateauing for us is because, as I say, the taste buds you have are not infinite. In their equation, they have a log, and log often means that you will show an increase in something, but then it will sort of plateau off. And that's why, in our read of the paper, that's why they get this sort of plateauing off in signal. So what we've done is we've tried to reduce the paper down to something that's quite understandable, and essentially what we're saying here is, if you want to kind of get a sense of your perception of hotness and how variable it can be, for example, Tabasco sauce is 2,500 Scoville Heat Units. If you really don't mind hot food, you're a 10, essentially, then your perception of it would be like, on a scale, you'd be like 49. But of course, if you were somebody who was really sensitive to hot food, you would actually perceive that as 487. So we've tried to kind of make a calculator to kind of give you a sense that depending on who you are, you will perceive the same hotness, which is 2,500 Scoville Heat Units, in different ways. I'll just change that to 5,000 Scoville Heat Units. And again, this sort of average person might perceive it as 104, but somebody who's more I want to say immune to the sensation of it would actually perceive it as a 52. And again, so let me summarize what we're saying here. So we are saying that people have studied how individuals respond to increasing amounts of hotness by giving people known amounts of capsaicin. And there's an original paper on that. Now, we have interpreted that paper and we have plotted it, and we see that the perception of hotness is not linear with capsaicin, it plateaus off. And that's because in the paper they talk about the log of concentration, the log ppm. Now, the scientific reason for that, I would say, or physiological reason for that, is because you have receptors. There's only a certain number of them, and so you will you'll take on a little bit of capsaicin, you'll get a response, a bit more, you get a response, but they're infinite, so you will plateau out. So if you want to objectively measure the hotness of something, you can do it through the products. But we often, well, through our chili sensor, but we often are answering the question, well, you know, it should be 5,000, or sorry, 50,000 Scoville Heat units, but it doesn't taste as hot, let's say. Well, that's 100,000. Well, once you get really high, you're no longer able to perceive the capsaicin because your taste buds or receptors are already saturated. Okay, so I will put some links in the YouTube version of this video, and we hope that's at least interesting. Okay, thanks very much.